Now, on the Euro USD, what is happening on the higher time frame? How well, look at the structure we have on the higher time frame here. We can see that price has been on a long-term bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, and I was able to identify this bearish trend line. In fact, I have two trend lines here. I have the major trend line, which has been holding price action since last year. That's a thick black line on your screen, which after connecting the series of lower highs there, I was able to identify that major trend line. Now, the second trend line is more or less a temporary one, which has been holding price action since the beginning of this year. And you can see how this level has been holding selling pressure, thereby navigating price to the downside. And though during the course of last week trading session, we saw this breakout of that trend line. So one thing we want to be looking at for at the New York session today is to see if this breakout is a real breakout or a false breakout. Now, before I go into that detail, I want to share with you the current structure here, which is more or less an equilibrium state, and that is the structure around the $1 mark area. We can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action in the past. If we go to as far as the month of July, we saw how this level was a buying niche for participants in this market. Fast forward into the later part of the month of August stroke the early days of the month of September, we saw how this level was a buying niche but was met with strong resistance from the sellers here, pushing price right below that structure during the later part of the month of September. And since on the 28th of September, price has been trading right below the $1 mark, emphasizing how strong the sellers are at this point in the market. And if we look at what has been happening since the later part of September here, though we had selling pressure pushing price right from the $1 mark to the downside, and if we look at it closely, we can see that the selling pressure continued to reduce, as you can see here. Hold on a second, so the selling pressure continue to reduce gradually with time, and this is more or less a sign that we might be having bullish momentum coming in at this point. And look at the structure here. We can see we had higher lows as a result of this, and that led us into connecting the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line. And this bullish trend line has been guiding buying pressure since the later part of the month of September, and finally led into the breakout of both the bearish trend line here and the key level at the $1 mark. And from a technical standpoint like this, whenever we have a breakout of a structure, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back to do a retest of the structure that was broken. So we had the bearish trend line broken, price has come back to do a retest of that structure, which also lines up with the buy zone we identified here on the daily time frame. And what we want to be looking forward to is this. Since we had this impulsive move that led to the breakout, we want to see a retracement phase. Let's see how this retracement phase is going to end. And the only way we can know this retracement phase has ended is when we start citing buying pressure on lower time frame. Then we could be thinking of taking advantage of a bullish momentum. And if this continues to the upside and a breakout of the $1 mark happens, retest of structure should be giving us further confirmation to add more position to our existing trade, and our take profit target will just fall right along the bearish trend line, the major bearish trend line we identified earlier, right within the 1.0200 and the 1.0400 level. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to from an holistic perspective. So now, how do we intend to trade the Euro USD for today, and what has been our plan since the beginning of the week as well? So in order to do that, we'll scale down to the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, and let's see what is going on right now. So at the beginning of the week, we saw a situation where price was caught within a channel right within the 0.99650 level, that is somewhere around here, and then the 0.99450 level. So we saw price was caught within a channel, emphasizing the indecision at the market right now. So at that point in time, participants in this market were quite indecisive of what next to do, and therefore we're waiting for a catalyst that will signal where price action will be moving. So what we did yesterday was that we looked out for either a breakout or breakdown of a structure, and the latter was what happened as we saw the breakdown of that structure at the 0.99450 retest of structure therein, and we joined the decline to the downside around that area. And remember what I told you yesterday on the Euro USD. I said something about being the fact that we are within a very strong buy zone that we identified on the daily time frame. So as soon as price moves in our direction, we want to continue to move our stop loss accordingly to protect our position against any sudden pullback, which is likely going to be happening on the Euro USD, considering the structure we identified earlier. Remember, let me show you one more time so we can see what I'm talking about. So we saw this impulsive move that started a couple of weeks ago, pushing price into the 1.00950, breaking out of that significant key level at the $1 mark. And what we want to be seeing, we want to see this bearish momentum as a retracement of that impulse leg. But how far this retracement phase is going to go is what we don't know. But the only way we will know that this retracement phase has ended is when we start sighting buying pressure within the buy zone area here. Then we want to be looking to take advantage of this potential second wave of that bullish momentum that started a couple of weeks ago. So we are at a very critical point at this point in time. Though we took advantage of that bearish momentum at the beginning of the week, we locked in some profit and we were actually taken out of our position as price has come right back to the support level of the channel that was holding price action at the beginning of the week. So right now, what are we going to be doing to take advantage of any trading opportunity on the Euro USD? First of all, let me delete all this so that we can have a clear chart at this point. And now, another thing I want to show you here is what has been happening around the 0.9800 level. As we can see, we saw buying pressure around this level, which is within the buy zone we identify, which is also a very good sign that we might be having a bullish momentum going forward from this level. So what I'm going to be looking forward to at this point, considering the fact that we are within the buy zone we identified on the daily time frame, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity here on the on the Euro USD. So as long as price remains above the 0.99200 level, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity on this one. And if price comes back to break down that structure, well, I want to be very careful to join the sell momentum, as I want to be seeing something like this breakdown, then price coming back to do a retest of structure followed by selling pressure here to join that decline to the downside. And that is how I want to be selling this. That is, price comes back down below that level. But as long as price remains above the 0.99200 level, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity. And the current structure we have here is tending towards a bullish momentum at this point, considering that buy zone we identified earlier. So the next thing I want to be doing here is to identify a structure which will make our job easier to identify trading opportunities during the New York session today. So I'll be bringing out my line chart at this point, and then we want to be connecting the series of lower highs here. We have a bearish trend line here, which appears to have been broken during the early hours of today. So I want to be seeing this as my yardstick for buying opportunity for the New York session today. So we have the scenario here, and so we already have a breakout of this trend line, which also lines up with the break above of the 0.99200 level, which is also my yardstick for buying opportunity. So I want to be looking to buy the Euro USD right above this level. And like I told you, take profit target on a long-term perspective falls at the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, which is more or less a very long one. So let's just place it right around this level, that is the 1.0100 level. Let me shift this out a little bit. So that is, we have a structure here. We have a structure here which has been a selling niche for participants in this market. That's around the 1.0100 level. So let's have our take profit target around that area. And if price continue to rise to the upside, we want to see how price is going to relate to that structure here at the 1.0010 level. So if we have multiple rejection of that level, then we want to be thinking of selling again to the downside. And if a breakout of that structure happens and then retest happens, then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade on the Euro USD. So this is how I want to be looking at the Euro USD going into the New York session today. So if you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. Then another thing I want to tell you here is that the setup we are having here on the Euro USD has a tendency of giving us multiple entries at this point, as we have multiple structures around this level. So we have one at the 0.99650, which has been the highest point price has been at the beginning of since the beginning of this week. So this is the highest point price has been at the beginning of the week. So if we have a breakout of that structure as well and retest with buying pressure on lower time frame, we want to join add more position to this trade. And if a breakout of this important $1 mark happens, retest to structure, we want to be adding another position to this trade. And if a final breakout of the 1.0100 level happens, a retest of structure should also give us another opportunity to add more position to the existing trade on the Euro USD. So we can see that we have quite a lot of possible situation that's going to be giving us multiple entry on the Euro USD. So let's get ourselves prepared to take advantage of this move as price action unfold before our eyes. Then another thing I want to share with you here is on the economic calendar. We have a major event coming up today in, I think, in the next 2 hours. We have the ISM manufacturing PMI for the month of October, and this is coming up in 2 hours time. So we want to get ourselves prepared. We don't know how this event is going to affect the market, but we already have a structure we are looking forward to. And if it affects the market, then definitely the move is going to be very significant. So let's get ourselves prepared, and I wish you best of luck on the Euro USD. So if you have any question whatsoever, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and let me see how I can be of help in that regard.